name is Andrew Alt, and I am the Chief Imagination Officer of Draftworks. You're very kind, but I think the pivotal moment goes way back to when I selected my degree. There's a beautiful word in English called serendipity, which is the act of finding something good where you didn't expect to. So when I was at university, I initially wanted to study drama and language. I wanted to be a writer and an actor, and then I realized I wasn't good enough to actually make a living out of it. So I thought, okay, what I'll do is I'd pursued computer science at school and I was really good at it. So I thought, let me go and pursue that as a career. And I got chatting with one of my mates and accidentally stood in the wrong queue. And instead of registering for a pure computer science degree, I ended up registering for a wonderful degree, which is a combination of computer science and chartered accounting. So I ended up doing those two degrees in 4 years. And that was foundational because it enabled me to always look at accounting through a system lens and through the logic that they teach you as coders. And that I think has always made me think differently. In terms of signal, I think it's less about government policy and more about government performance. I think infrastructure is critical. We've already seen increased infrastructural spending. We've already seen initiatives like digital IDs as an initiative and pushing fiber into previously unserviced areas. I think those are critical. But what we want government to do is to steady the ship and to get out of the way. I think government needs to deliver on the promises that they've made. I think it's much less about what government says and a lot more about what government does. I think that delivery at local government level is probably the most important imperative, not just for digital, but for everyone. Because if we don't deliver infrastructure at local level that really works, get the ports moving, get roads working, get power in, get water in, there's going to be no economic growth. And then every other initiative is really blowing in the wind. I think the first thing is about mindset. I think that if you're going to be a CA that's ready for the future, is you have to be curious. You have to be relentlessly interested in everything, because we no longer can sit in a box and deal just with finance. The world is so integrated and so involved, so global that everything impacts on each other. So you need to be relentlessly curious. I think that's the first thing. I think secondly, we select well for analytical skills, but I think we need to select for language skills as well, because I believe always that CAs are translators of information to the end user. And I think that you have to have, at the very least, a basis and an understanding of coding. Certainly, I know that most CA university programs have got some elements of it. I would like to see that strengthened, because I think finance systems naturally lend themselves towards a lot of the innovations which are happening in the digital space. I think you're going to have a hard time staying ahead of disruption, because I think that is the new normal. I think, a president wakes up in America and doesn't feel good about himself and slaps 15% tariffs on. There's so much that is outside of your control. So I think that risk management systems, the abilities to shift your organization in a direction where it can manage and understand and deal with risk is very important. I don't think we spend enough time dealing with how we deal with change. I think that's one thing. I think there's a lot of low-hanging fruit to be picked in systems which simplify compliance so that you can spend less time on repetitive tasks and more time applying your mind to the complexities that are out there. And I think for me, the biggest thing that I worry about is that in the midst of all this complexity and all these signals, is that people switch off Like there's overload, information overload, and you say, well, look, I'm never going to be able to cope with it all, so I'm not going to deal with any of it. And I think that for me, dealing with a way of dealing with the information is the foundational aspect of responding to risk. You've got to have a way of processing that information and deciding on what is going to impact you. Look, you're going to be wrong. You're not going to get it right all the time, but you still stand a better chance of managing risk if you're at least scanning the environment in I almost want to say like a structured way, because that makes the thinking easier. That means you make better decisions and you've got a better understanding of what is out there. I think first of all, don't be a doctor and don't be a lawyer. We've got enough of those, okay? And frankly, I think you can do more good for your community as an accountant. We are amazing people who are fundamental to changing the societies that we're in. The abilities that you can have as an accountant to change the environment around you, I recommend it very strongly. And I think it is a career that is like ice cream, that it's got a good foundation of very basic core skills, but those skills can translate into any flavor. You can go into tech, you can go into biomechanics, you can go into medicine, you can go into robotics, you can go into space, you can go into NPO space, you can go into human relations. But you're coming into those organizations and you're coming into those spaces with a set of foundational skills that are second to none. I still think our training program is among the best in the world. I've had the opportunity to speak to CAs from all over the world, and we really kick their butts. I think South African CAs are exceptional because we hold ourselves to a very high standard. So I really want to encourage young South Africans to pursue accounting. And it's not easy. It's a marathon, not a sprint. But everything in life that is worthwhile is difficult at the time.